Well, let's discuss this further now with Toby Vogel. He's a political analyst and a senior associate with the think tank Democratisation Policy Council. He joins us now from Brussels. Good to have you back on the program, Toby. The US and the UK, as we know, have already agreed to phase out Russian oil. But as we heard there, the EU is divided on cutting imports of Russian oil and gas. Do you believe that the 27-member bloc will be able to bridge that divide by punishing Russia's lucrative energy sector?
Well, look, the horrific images that we've just seen, from places such as, in particular, Mariupol over the weekend, have obviously not left the European leaders untouched. There is an understanding that there might need to be an escalation in the sanctions against Russia. The problem is that there's very few escalatory steps left for the EU to take. And the obvious next step would be some kind of energy embargo, whether it be on crude or on gas, both of which make up a very substantial share of Russian exports to the European Union, as well as a very substantial share of the energy the European Union gets from abroad. So the problem before EU leaders meeting here on Thursday will be how far they can go without these divisions breaking into the open and undermining the remarkable, really, unity that we've seen over the last few weeks since February 24th. On the one hand, and on the other hand, how to deal with the domestic fallout that any kind of energy embargo would have on their electorates.
US President Joe Biden is preparing to head to Europe this week for a meeting with NATO. He's also going to visit Poland, which, as we know, has bore the brunt of the refugee crisis that's stemmed from the conflict in Ukraine. Do you expect Biden's visit to perhaps apply more pressure on EU leaders to do more to punish Russia?
I think that's probably one of the reasons why President Biden is coming to town. Whether this is going to work, I'm not so sure. I don't think it's an issue of EU leaders not understanding that there needs to be more pressure on Russia. I think the issue is really that the next step in sanctions would actually really bite at home in a very direct manner because the European Union is so energy dependent on Russia. Now, the point to make here is that this is not automatic. There are countries in the Baltics, for example, or Finland, say, that are to a very high degree, we're talking 90% dependent on Russian gas, for example, and that are very tough on the Kremlin. There are other countries that are less dependent, but are friendlier to the Kremlin. I would definitely single out Hungary here. So this is not simply about business or economics or heating Europeans' homes. If President Biden can make a strong case that the European Union needs to continue escalating its sanctions, we've now had 4 rounds of sanctions, each round tougher than the previous one, that will probably have an impact. The key player here is not Poland. The key player here, at the end of the day, is Germany, which was fully on board for the first 4 rounds, but now that energy is coming into the mix, is noticeably more reluctant to escalate in terms of sanctions against Russia.
Okay, Toby Vogel, thank you so much again for sharing your analysis with us on TRT World.
Pleasure.